I'm sure every person watching this can think of two things that just go together, like certain foods: peanut butter and jelly, eggs and toast, pineapple on pizza. Wait, what do you mean one of those pairs is disgusting? Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, peanut butter with jelly is pretty bad. My point is, when you think of two things that go together, Capcom, video game developer and publisher, and Marvel, home to many of the most famous superheroes in fiction, would not be the combination anybody would jump to. And yet, the Marvel vs. Capcom fighting game franchise actually exists. This idea didn't just magically pop into somebody's head, though. At first, Capcom was responsible for making a few fighting games with Marvel characters in them, notably X-Men Children of the Atom and Marvel superheroes. Then some executives got the bright idea and said, hey, Street Fighter's already a fighting game. What if we put some of those characters in the games? And that led to X-Men vs. Street Fighter and Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. Then somebody reminded those executives, hey, Capcom has some other characters. And they went, and thus the first Marvel vs. Capcom game was created, combining both the X-Men and Street Fighter parts of Marvel and Capcom with the rest of the characters each company was known for. Except the X-Men got left out of the latest Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite because of licensing issues, but whatever, I guess. The series is known for its team-based gameplay, where you choose 2 or 3 characters, depending on the installment, and use them together in order to deplete the opponent's life bars. This can be done through direct attacks, or by calling in another character to do an attack using the assist system. Except assists don't exist in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite for some reason, in exchange for being able to change characters more easily, I guess. Specifically, I want to talk about Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 because I got that one during a Steam sale, and I actually like it way more than I was expecting to. Like, I thought I was going to like it, but this might be one of my favorite fighting games now. Basically, this game is a 6-button fighter, but not in the same way as, say, Street Fighter, where all 6 are attack buttons. There are 4 attacks on the face buttons, dedicated to light, medium, heavy, and launcher. Remember that last one, it's pretty cool. The last 2 buttons, the bumpers, are assigned to your 2 assists. And actually, that's it. You can do every action in the game with just those 6 buttons. I think it's nice to know that you'll never have to touch the triggers or click in the sticks if you don't want to. You can assign the rest of the inputs on the controller as shortcuts for certain combinations of the aforementioned buttons. For example, assigning left trigger to act as pressing both assists simultaneously, but it's never necessary to execute any moves. But what really got me hooked on this game was the amount of moves you can do with just these buttons. Mostly, you'll be comboing basic attacks into each other and executing special moves by rotating the control stick and pressing a button. But the amount of extra options is so staggering, I don't even know what order to talk about them in. First off, at any time while fighting, you can press a bumper and call in one of your other fighters to do an assist, or a single attack that you can use to extend combos, apply pressure to your opponent, or whatever else. By holding the bumper, you'll straight up switch into that character and start fighting as them instead. And what's cool about assists is that they're not actually risk-free. If your opponent hits your assist as it comes in, when you switch to that character, they'll already have some of their health depleted. I also want to mention hyper combos. As you fight, you'll build this meter at the bottom of the screen that can go up to 5 levels. By doing special move inputs and pressing 2 attack buttons, you'll execute a hyper combo, or a really powerful attack that does a ton of damage, but uses up a bar or 3 from this meter. This, of course, is pretty standard for fighting games that have super moves, but what's not standard is the way you can combine the hyper combos. While one character is doing a hyper combo, you can choose to instantly switch to your next character and have them follow up with another one. Or you can use a ton of bars to have your entire team do hyper combos all at once, which just feels good to do. Interestingly enough, this game places a decent focus on aerial combat, where both fighters are airborne at the same time. This is where the launcher button comes in. By hitting your opponent with it, you'll cause them to fly up in the air, with which you can follow up by jumping after them and hitting them with a flurry of attacks. Even better, just like with hyper combos, you can switch into another character while in the middle of an air combo, leading to stuff like this.
Air combo! Do you do that? Team aerial combo! Dude!
And trust me, that was nothing compared to some of the stuff the professionals with this game can do. The last gameplay mechanic I want to mention is X Factor. Besides making me personally feel really cool every time I activate it with that announcer clip, It's also one of the best comeback mechanics I've ever seen in a video game, because it doesn't feel unfair in the slightest to the player who's winning. Basically, when a match is started, each player has one X Factor charge. You can activate it at any time, and your character will get faster, hit harder, and recover HP slowly while it's in effect. How it acts as a comeback mechanic, though, is that the boosts it gives are better and last longer the few of your fighters are currently alive. Now, the winning player has an X Factor charge too, and when the losing player uses theirs, the winning player has a choice. Use it then and be not as strong if they have more fighters left, or save it and have to deal with the full effect of the opposing player's boosts. It's really interesting how the losing player gets thrown a bone while still giving the winning player agency over their situation. And of course, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite removed the X Factor system. Are you seeing a pattern here? Of course, there's other mechanics I won't be going too deep into here, like snapbacks and how to counter an aerial exchange, but let it suffice to say this game has a ton of depth. Next, I want to talk about the roster, and oh boy is it good. Marvel and Capcom both have a huge amount of great characters, and 25 from each are on this gigantic roster. I know it might be disappointing for fans of the second game, which I understand had a ton of X-Men and Street Fighter characters that were cut for 3, but in their absence was added so much variety. On the Marvel side, we got Hawkeye and Ghost Rider from the Ultimate Edition, plus Rocket Raccoon before Guardians of the Galaxy became part of the MCU and everybody knew who he was. Heck, this is the first time we got Thor playable in a Marvel vs. Capcom game, and I'd say he's pretty deserving of it. And with Capcom, sure, we miss out on Mega Man, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't think he leaves that much of a gap. We got Zero to represent the series anyway. Also, Amaterasu's here because Okami absolutely deserves a rep from what I've heard, Frank West because who wouldn't want some zombies, and Phoenix Wright shows up despite being possibly the least likely Capcom character to fight anything. Well, at least now there's not one, but 2 lawyers in this game. In addition, every single one of these characters gets their own musical theme, and they all sound great. The Capcom ones are remixes of themes from their respective games, while the Marvel ones are all original for the Marvel vs. Capcom series, but regardless, they all sound fantastic. Unfortunately, my performance in the game does take a bit of a hit from the music because I'm too busy headbanging to focus on the match. And you know what? I'm bad at this game. Terrible, actually. Just watch this match I did online.
Crossover assist. Excuse me. Level 1. Level air combo. Great. Crossover assist. Crossover assist.
Yeah, not exactly tournament ready, am I? But that's what's so good about this game. You can have tons of fun with it without even being relatively good. This game has so much personality in the characters, opening and winning quotes. It looks great, and overall it's a great package. My only complaint is that the single-player content itself is pretty light. There's a little side mode called Heroes and Heralds where you can augment your characters with buffs from little character cards representing other Marvel and Capcom characters. But besides that, it's pretty much just training in arcade mode until you find someone else to play against. Now, if you'll excuse me, I will close this video by demonstrating my ultimate strategy, quarter circle forward spamming with Iron Man.
Fight!
Unibeam! 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 Unibeam!
Attack!
Unibeam! Unibeam!